Hello and welcome. My name is Vex, and this is another Godforge video. Today, I felt like ruffling some feathers, as is true to my nature. Um, we're gonna take a look at this weekly Fateless video. It came out on Tuesday. They do an update every Tuesday about what's going on in the game. This time, Simon's talking about stats and things that come from the Alpha Wave 1. By the time this comes out, Alpha Wave 2 will almost be upon us. It starts next week. So I'll try to get this out over the weekend. But if you're in the future, I guess it doesn't really matter. So that's going to be the focus of this video. I'm always, I want this to be very clear. I want to play Godforge. I played the Alpha 1. I had a bunch of fun. I want it to be the best game that it can be, and I'm trying to use what little qualifications I have and what voice I have to try and shed some light and try to maybe convince people of certain things, as we'll talk about later in the video. But yeah, I think I try to come at it from like a constructive point of view and not a yes man point of view, because I think that both voices are needed. And we're not going to talk about it, but there was a podcast that happened this week that was very much on the topic of when to say no to certain things. And that was a really refreshing podcast to watch, as it had like a bunch of the behind the scenes devs talking about, features and stuff. That was a super good podcast. Definitely recommend watching it on their channel. But anyway, we're going to get into this one. I am going to put this one at 1.5 times speed. If you don't watch videos like that, I don't normally watch videos like that, but I want to get through at least a majority of this video in like a relatively short amount of time, because I know this video is going to be longer than I want. I know I'm going to talk longer than I want, but I'm sorry, but you can go watch the actual video. I always link the videos that I feature down in the description. I stream these live. I record these live on Twitch at twitch.tv/vexinglive. Links to that are down in the description. We also do recordings of like gameplay and stuff in our Discord, so that's in the description as well. So yeah, let's get into this, and I will update when we're ready to get into it.
Hey guys, this is Simon from Fateless, coming to you after Alpha 1 is completed. What I want to do today is just share with you some of the feedback, share with you some of the stats that came in from Alpha 1. Also want to talk to you a little bit about Alpha 2 as well, because we are well underway in terms of improvements, in terms of some bug fixing, and then also in terms of like getting ourselves ready to welcome you back. So Alpha 1, we actually sent out invites to about 5,500 players, and of those, the vast majority at least logged into the game. I'm going to go through some stats in a minute, but we had something like a 96% email open rate for Alpha 1.
That's pretty good.
And then of the people that opened the email, about 95% of those people decided to try the game, which, by the way, is totally insane. I've worked in sales, and if you get like a 1 in 3 response rate to something you're doing, it's pretty obscene. Obviously, this is a little bit different, but still, like, the numbers like blew me away, honestly, in terms of the people that came in and tried the game.
Yeah, Alpha Wave 1 was like the core group, right? The people who have been waiting, have been watching most of the videos that come out, that was like the core audience.
Like engaged properly with
and those people are going to be helpful with spreading like word of mouth when the game is closer to launch.
Game in a second. Alpha 2, though, is going to start on the 13th of August. Today, not long after this video goes out, we'll be sending an email to everybody in the Alpha. Okay, that's basically anybody who has signed up at fateless.gg to this point. We're inviting into Alpha 2. Okay, so if you're like watching this and thinking...
They did say that they were thinking about 10 to 15,000, I think, were going to be invited into Alpha Wave 2, so they did open it up to everybody that signed up.
Damn, why didn't they send me an email? I can tell you now, we did. If you signed up, it's probably in a promotions folder or a spam folder. The amount of people that messaged me after Alpha 1 saying I didn't receive anything, they did. They just couldn't find the email. You want to go into your email box and just search for Godforge or search for the word Alpha, and you'll find the information there. So what we're doing, and it's really important you do this, because we have to whitelist people for mobile devices. Okay, so the email that comes out today, it will tell you some information about Alpha 2, and it will also say, if you plan at all in any time in Alpha 2 to play on a mobile device, that's an iPhone, needs to be an iPhone 15 Pro or better or higher,
that's
or an
Android
using. Device which has got at least 6 gig of memory. If you're planning to play on either of those types of devices, you have to complete the form. This was probably our biggest pain point.
I did that because I think I'm going to try it on mobile
with
again.
the language, and loads
Just
of people
like
that thought they
to
could
try
play on
it out.
phone, they couldn't play unless we whitelist their emails. Okay, so that's something that's really important. Make sure you action that.
Because unlike some people, I play the alpha test to test the game and try to be helpful because I find that enjoyable. I'm not just playing the game.
Today, if you want to play on a mobile device, and share that with anybody that you know is
Apparently
playing.
there was a high
Please go
rate
check
of bug
your emails.
reports,
Please go
which is
and,
super cool.
respond to those emails. Otherwise, it becomes a real frustration for people that think they should be able to get on, but they're not able to get on. Okay, then let's go into some of the info we have gained from this alpha. So I've done myself a little Miro board here, just like reconsider what were we looking to gain from the alpha. We were looking to understand, did we find the fun?
So
Are
bright.
people that are playing this game, Godforge,
I feel
is it
like I got
engaging?
flashback.
Are they enjoying that core gameplay loop of building heroes, building teams, overcoming challenges in Godforge? We want to test our cameras. How do they feel? Where do people land in terms of what they're enjoying, what they're not, and get a ton of feedback on cameras. We've got a lot of work to do on cameras, but we've got a good foundation there. We wanted to test our systems to make sure they're all working. We got some bugs with stuff like that. We wanted to test the power curve of heroes, of gear, of imprints, of weapons. Like all of those things are like building blocks of power. And then we also wanted to test our curve of enemies.
Okay, my quick rundown. Did we find the fun? It was fun to play the game, to see all the abilities, to use different combinations of characters, to come off of auto, to be like, oh, how am I going to beat this? How am I going to beat this boss? You know, do I have to go back and change some builds? Like, that was fun. Is the core gameplay loop engaging? I feel like I'm not quite seeing the vision in terms of like how the alpha test shows the core gameplay loop, other than it showcases how the weapon system works, it showcases how gear works, and it showcases how combat works. And like you need to farm for gear, you need to farm for experience points, you need to farm for ascension materials, like that I understand. And maybe there are people coming into the game that don't know that type of thing or aren't used to that type of thing in like a gacha game. But that thing I'm already into. Like maybe that is the core gameplay loop that they're trying to get into. But I feel like in the alpha, you know, we're in such a confined space. I don't really know if we're gonna see too much of the core. Like where are we gonna get XP from? That's probably gonna be its own dungeon or something like that. I don't know. Maybe the core is a lot smaller than what I'm imagining. Gameplay feel, it was okay. I think the ultimate system is a little broken. I don't know if it's going to get fixed. I don't know if it's at where it needs to be right now. We'll see in Wave 2. The cameras definitely need work. The top camera is the static top-down camera, and that was like the best because it was just the most consistent. Systems were strange. I made a video, I think last week or the week before, about talking about the gold system in the game and how I think that there's just an unnecessary gold tax on everything. The power curve was interesting. I sort of just like blazed through level like 1 to 50, and then I had to like turn my brain on. Yeah, I don't know if that's just, I don't know if that type of thing is going to be apparent in the whole game. And bug squashing, I don't know. There was a bunch of bugs.
Yeah, we want to understand if we got that in a good spot. And then another element is just like, let's squash a load of bugs. The more eyes that are on the game, the easier it is to collect a load of info on bugs. We had something like 4,000 bug reports.
Oh,
now, a lot of them are
shit.
duplications, yeah? People are seeing the same purple Tristane coming at them, and everyone's reporting that one because it's super obvious to see. But then we also had some ones which we hadn't noticed before ourselves, some of the intricacies where it's like, hold on a minute, is this passive actually doing what it's meant to be doing? And then we go in and deep dive it, and we find ways to...
Yeah, I noticed a bunch of passives
we'll find
that
out from the
just
feedback, did we tick
weren't
the boxes
happening.
on a lot of these things? And then I'm going to tell you...
I think this was something that was mentioned in the podcast. I don't know if it was all abilities or just ability cooldowns, but when you put skill tomes into a character to, you know, buff their skill, like you level up their skill, it would be like plus 5% damage, plus 5% buff chance, and then -1 cooldown. At the very least, the cooldown part wasn't working through all of alpha. And I was thinking to myself, like, some of these characters' abilities should be happening way sooner. But I didn't put 2 and 2 together to, like, actually test it and, you know, look at the numbers.
What the sort
But
of
apparently
main
that was a
focuses
thing.
are for Alpha 2, and then obviously Alpha 3 after that. So let's go through some of the stats. Firstly, Corey and
We're not going to get into it yet, but
Chris from the team
bear with me.
pulled together a load of the info that you guys have sent back, right? So whether it's ad data or whether it's data looking at your surveys and stuff, this is what we're going to go through here. And then I personally am in the Discords a lot, and I get some sort of, I guess, general feeling of how people are enjoying the game as well. So this is from Corey. We had 198 legendary players who conquered stage 150. Okay, so that's our end game challenge, was to try and beat
this
stage
is from
150.
Corey.
So 198 out of just
Okay.
over 5,000 players actually beat the game. 15 players beat it in the last day, and then we actually had on the second to last day 42 players beat it. So as we were coming towards the end,
I did
people
not
really
beat
pushed. Some players
level
attempted
150.
stage
I had no
150 over
time.
8 times in a day. We had people really from around the globe, which is cool. We had 4,421 players log in for over 3 days. Okay, so we class that as someone who's basically been active for the time. And of that, we've had 45,776 hours played. Now, obviously, this is a type of
That's a
game where
lot.
sometimes you're doing auto battles and stuff.
It's like
So
at
it
least
gives
10
the
hours a
average to
person, yeah.
Over 10 hours per day per active player, which is pretty mad. This could be incorrect. I'm going to call it out. So our leaderboards were a little bit wonky. But the data
Oh, I was looking at the Discord. This is incorrect. There was a timestamp, like evidence gathering of Ragewood, being the first one to complete stage 150. He did it on a stream. He streamed like a crazy amount.
got the first person to complete the alpha wave 1 was the Black Bangout on the 25th of July at 5:24 UTC.
He got it
And
like
started,
20 minutes
I
before this
believe,
guy.
on the 23rd. Let me just check that actually. Started on the Wednesday, on the 23rd. Yeah, 23rd at 3 p.m. UTC. So 2 days, 2 hours, 24 minutes. They completed level 150. It's pretty mad. In terms of some metas then, so for stage 150, there was 978 combats. Heimdall was the #1 most popular hero. He was relatively.
I got
broken
Heimdall,
in a
but
number of ways.
I knew he was
in terms of
broken,
How
so
good he was, and he also
I didn't
was
use
a
him.
real punisher of the game. He basically broke the game. So that's one of the things we want to fix for Alpha 2. Shamash was second place with his revive and with his ally attack. 61% of players using him. Zeus was the third of the big three. Nearly 50% of players using him in that 150 challenge. And then it's like that winning combo was those three. Pro tip here, 67% of players who reached level 140 eventually beat 150. So, and the biggest challenge where people dropped out was actually 142, which was pretty bugged.
I didn't get that far.
Isis
I think I
just
got
being unreal. So a lot of people, 22%
in
of
the
players
early
found that bug
100s.
was just too much. A shout out to some of our level 150 players here. So in the last 24 hours, oh man, we've got some tough names. Harry Nixie, Stay Woke, Chipicus, MXPJE, and Yar Peter all beaten it in the last 24 hours. We've got some grinders here that were trying multiple attempts. So Mighty Mog, Erroneous, Fosty, Hannibal, with multiple attempts per day.
Strange
We had
call-outs.
people from all over the world. And then some of the popular team comps. We had Aphrodite with Beowulf, Heimdall, Shamash, and Zeus. So the
Global
top three-
representation, players from .com.co.uk. What does this mean? Domains?
In Aphrodite and Beowulf. We've also had this kind of like Shamash Zeus combo with 62% of the people using that. The tank combo of Heimdall Shamash.
I don't think I got
and
Shamash.
Aphrodite often coming in as like one of the
But
filler
Aphrodite was
heroes.
pretty good.
Some examples of some winning teams then. Aphrodite, Zeus, Shamash, Anubis, and Herc.
Anubis was super
Pretty
cool.
cool. Quetzalcoatl, Heimdall, Drak, Zeus, and Odin. This was Stay Wokes. MX's here was Shamash, Zeus, Heimdall, Core 3, but then YDG.
Yeah, YDG.
Ydrak, which is the dragon, and Anubis. And then Yar Peter came in with a more balanced team, which was Aphrodite, Herc, YDG, Isis as a healer, reviver, and Odin. So cool to see a lot of different teams coming in the mix. This is just some words from Corey here, really.
Was that everybody
With a
using
more balanced team,
Hercules?
which was
Oh, it was just one Hercules.
Aphrodite, Herc. Stage 150 was designed to be an ultimate test. It will be harder in Alpha 2. 150 was not hard enough in terms of the actual level. Like, getting to 150 was very hard. Fafnir himself was not hard enough. So we saw 183 players rise to meet the challenge, 57 conquered on the last day. Whether you're using the popular combo or experimenting with your own strats, every attempt makes you part of this amazing journey. The fact that players are trying 8 times in a day shows your passion for Godforge. And to everyone still working towards 150, the data shows that if you get past 140, there's a good chance you're going to get to 150. Keep pushing, keep experimenting, keep forging your legend. I think from Corey's point of view, he's joined the company quite recently, and I think he's kind of blown away by the dedication of this community and the engagement we get. And how
So, this is the first thing I want to talk about. I'm going to preface this with I have I feel like I have loosey-goosey feelings about AI usage in general. For the most part, I'm pretty on the I kind of feel like I'm a fence sitter. Like I've got my limits and I've got my okays. Like in the past, I've been very vocal about, at least when Midjourney first came in, I thought it could be a novel idea. I thought it could be a way to get more people into art and being creative and things like that. We've talked about music AI. We've talked about voice AI. We've talked about all this stuff extensively, like during our streams and stuff when we have more time to talk about it. It's obviously a super complex situation and discussion, but and one that I'm happy to have, just not specifically in this video. And I think what this boils down to, which I'm about to dive into, is I think that there's something happening. There's something happening where people are no longer using their brains. And I've said this for a little while now, and it's doesn't feel like somebody optimizing their time. It feels like just pure I don't care. And I don't want to shit on this Corey guy. I don't know this person. Maybe this was a directive from higher up. I don't know. But if you, so my main job, I work at a school every day. I have to deal with kids screaming about ChatGPT all day. And I've used it. It's like kind of fun to like poke around with, right? But it has a language that it uses. And this entire video has been nothing. All of the text on screen has been nothing but ChatGPT, which is crazy to me. I'm going to show you something. This is this text. Can I open this here? There we go. This is this text right here on screen, message to the community, this is just one sample, but I could do it in a different one. I had to type this all out because you can't copy paste it. In a like AI detector. So like I could see it when I was reading through it and when I was listening to Simon the first time, and I was like, this doesn't sound right. This is insane to me. Like maybe I'm making it single click processors to defeat that already. Well, what are you talking about now? Can you elaborate? It just feels like, why can't, so to me, the situation, it probably wasn't that nefarious, right? It was the person got all the data. They were given like a file that had a bunch of stats and stuff, and they put it into ChatGPT and they said, hey, ChatGPT, give me XXXX, go through this data and, you know, pump out a blurb about the message to the community. And that's how they came up with, you know, all of these things. Like, this person did not go through the stats individually and determine via math and stat tracking all of this stuff. It's like extremely apparent because of the verbiage and like the weird emojis and things like that. Like, this isn't prose that somebody creates. This isn't type that someone goes through and edits for like a blog post or something like that. Like, this is just super, super low effort compared to all the transparency we've seen from Fateless. It just feels like I said, maybe I'm blowing it out of the water and it wasn't meant to be that deep, man. But like, it feels like such a kick in the teeth. Like, we've seen time and time again, like this menu button, some of the, like the backdrops of some of the, like the caverns and stuff like that. Some of the icons for the hero abilities and the icons for the gear. We know that those were made by ChatGPT, but we've been told, hey, anything that's AI art in the game will be replaced by human art by the time of launch. Whatever. I'm just simply stating that is their stance. That is what they have said. This was just so strange because, like, they have people on the dev team that are like math people. They have people on the dev team that are like really good at, like, they created the HH optimizer, right? This thing that you run alongside Raid Shadow Legends, and it grabs information about the game and will optimize your gear for you. It reads your gear, it reads potentials, it reads teams. Like we have the power. So like, why are we not using it? And like I said before, I don't mean to shit on this guy Corey, but like, I gotta call him out. Like, what is this? This is, and it sounds awful. Keep forging your legend. Who says that? Nobody says that. Simon doesn't say that. Fateless doesn't say that. Nobody in Godforge says that. Like, is that a new catchphrase? No, it's just something that ChatGPT said. I don't know. Like, I'm clearly getting too into this, but we'll continue. But I just wanted to point that out. That was one of my two things that I want to talk about today, to ruffle some feathers, because I think it's just asinine. This is witch hunt language. Yeah. Grab your pitchforks. Let's go. I don't know. It just took me by surprise when I watched it, and humans don't talk like that. Yeah, this clanker over here. This damn synth. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying. Let's keep going.
Yeah, he's joined the company quite recently, and I think he's kind of blown away by back and check out some of their videos. If you go into the Discord, there is a section. Let me show you quick. A couple of things actually to call out. In the Discord, if you come up to announcements, there is a supporting guide. It's actually quite far up now, so maybe we need to redo this, but there's a support here in terms of like, how do I unlock all channels for channels?
Okay, we know.
Which is giving some tips and as well, which is showing when people are going live to play it.
I will say during the Alpha 1 and probably Alpha 2, I'm not going to be making very many videos. I'm just going to be playing the game and showcasing kind of like where I'm at and what's different. Wave 3 is going to be closer to what the final game will look like, or at least the beta version of the game will look like, in terms of characters and hopefully UI and things like that. So that's when guides and stuff will come. Like, there's people, and I don't want to call out anybody specifically, but there's people who are making like, oh hey, here's the top X amount of epics from Wave 1, and like, while I think that that's interesting, and I didn't get a chance to test like every epic, I didn't get every character right, I don't think it's particularly useful, because a character could change 100% from Wave 1 to Wave 2, and I'm not interested in making a video that's going to be obsolete in a month, you know. So I'll just rather save it for everybody else who wants to make it. Check out the community resources tab in the Fateless Discord for all the content creators that are making videos.
Which are the group that are basically building the different web pages or tools to help people play it and navigate all the realms of Godforge. So I definitely recommend you come in and checking it out. Here's a couple of examples of people that were in the mix. So Ragewood, I believe, was the first content creator to beat Godforge, and he might have also been a challenge for this time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was.
He did it insanely fast. Raven Pyros was actually the person who played the most hours during the alpha, so he's actually one of the people that has a website here. And then
I will say Ragewood's website is gone now. Raven's website is like replaced it. Nick also has a website. I think it's Nick. Somebody else has a website. I think it's Nick. One of the mods. Raven's website's good. It's useful. I think it's definitely more, and from what I understand, Raven does like a lot of server stuff and like computer stuff. I could tell that it's not a design focus, or it's not an art first website.
to call it out, it's very cool.
It's okay. It's still usable.
Godforge with just rares. So he beat level 150 and 151 with just a rare team all the way. It's very cool. Some of our most used heroes is Solde, Ramsey, Scardy. So they're 3 rares. Heimdall, Aphrodite, Shamash, Zeus, Dagonet, one of the other rares, Lady Jacques, and Guan Yu. Let's say loads of CCs were streaming it. Let's talk about the survey that came back then. Actually, before we do, just quickly, I thought this was interesting. So, top 10 most popular heroes for stage 150. Lots more legendaries in the mix. Pangu's in there, Hurt, Quetzalcoatl, Isis. Beowulf, actually the only non-legendary that was a high use case for.
He has bonus damage to bosses.
Struggled
so makes
with
sense.
140 up. You can see like the number of people that attempted it versus people that completed it. And there's only really 142 that had like a big drop-off rate. 148, 149, 150 were all tough as well. So I thought it was quite interesting. So yeah, onto the survey then. So we sent out a survey on day 3 of Alpha 1. asking a bunch of questions. We
Yep.
then asked some similar questions and some other stuff on at the end of the alpha. Okay, so we had over 2,000 responses, which
Did
is cool.
both.
Dan did say if we get more than 50% response rate, which would mean over 2,500, that we would do a juicy leak. Okay, so if
We've
you've got-
still
if
not
you've got
gotten that
technical
leak. I
property-
think we're like 100 or 200 survey 2s away from getting that
not yet
leak,
complete
but
your
I don't
survey.
know what that
There
is.
might be 500 of you that push us into juicy leak territory, which would be exciting. Right, let's go through some of the most interesting questions here. So what we've seen is versus day 3 survey. Firstly, an insane amount of people.
I tried to
all got
answer.
higher
Maybe next time we'll stream and record my answering these surveys. I tried to be very, very frank.
level satisfaction with playing the game. So, and I'm of this opinion, like, I'd love for this to say 100%, right? Very satisfied. It's an alpha. It's extremely unlikely to say that. Plus, it's impossible to please everyone. Even people that were excited for the game, they might not have enjoyed the game. Okay, that's
I
where we're at.
enjoyed the game.
But
I'm
over
not easy to
80%
please, I guess.
had a really high satisfaction level. And what was interesting is, versus the day 3 survey, our very satisfied went up. So as people played the game more, understood the game more, they pushed into like more satisfied, which is very cool to see. Exactly what we're looking for, honestly. You can see it just in this kind of like pie graph here. This is a very satisfied camp, satisfied, neutral, and then lower. So that's good. Like, that helps us understand, did we find the fun, right? This was an interesting one as well. Hold on a minute, no, up here first. I'm feeling like our cameras right now. I'm all over the place. Friend recommendation. So over 82.
Wait, did we go over the camera stat? Oh, no, maybe not. Maybe not. Oop.
Recommend Godforge to their
Accidentally
friends.
muted.
Again, this went up from the day 3 survey. And in business, this is called a net promoter score. And anything over 68 is extremely high. Okay, so again, we're dealing with our kind of like core group here that we would expect to vote more highly, but still very encouraging to see. You can see it here, 45% were very
Wave
likely
2 is
to
going to
recommend
look probably
Godforge
pretty
onwards.
different.
We had questions here around, are you likely to return for Alpha Wave 2?
77 no.
are looking forward to returning to Wave 2. That's amazing. From people that did the survey.
Interesting.
That's amazing. That's really what we want. We asked questions about different parts of the game. So how do you feel about hero art? 4.2 out of 5. So over 80% were satisfied. Boss art, similar as well. Combat animations, some work to do, but actually, as people played it more, their view of it improved. So I think we're on track here, 3.8.
Less than
the
50.
biggest area of improvement is user interface. Things like understanding what faction people are in was a big one. Yeah, I guess. That was one of the large ones, and then just some
It was like when the challenge was like, hey, use somebody from the Omayakon faction. I was like, okay, so let's go to, I think Lady. No, I couldn't even tell you the difference between Omayakon and Ikur. Right? I guess it's been like a week and a half. I can't remember. It was basically like, find a character that you know is in that faction, look at their faction flag, and remember that little symbol. Like, there was no in-game way to tell who was in a faction.
stuff around. Some stuff we can fix initially, and some stuff we can't really. Like, sorting by factions, having a flag, understanding what different skills do.
That's not the Tien Empire.
Things like having fatter bars to be able to use and understand the bars better. There's a whole bunch of stuff, right? Now, we've not been able to fix it all. Next week's video, I'm actually going to go through like a full patch notes of what we have fixed for Alpha 2.
Nice.
And that's important. But definitely we can see this is one of our areas to improve. Some gameplay systems. So did we find it fun? 75% of people were satisfied, and that improved a lot as the week went on. So more people kind of like got their heads around the game, the more they found it really fun. Lots of people had different builds.
I'm hoping that we get this versus Wave 2 at the end of it to see where we're at with like a larger sample size.
Varieties. The combat feel people enjoyed and it improved. The depth of combat improved as well. Hero progression improved as well, and the daily gameplay loop. So the main things really that we wanted to test are in a good spot. Yeah,
Still,
so the last one
like,
really from this different build
not great,
varieties,
though.
The combat feel people enjoyed.
Strategic depth in combat is less than 70%. Hero progression is less than 70%, and daily gameplay loop is 54%. I think, like I said before, I think that's because of the nature of the alpha. Like, we're not seeing the whole game. Combat strategic depth is strictly wave-based and boss-based. It's not, like, we don't have PvP. We don't have a ton of different bosses to fight against. There's really only, like, 2 end bosses. Like, dungeon bosses, Fafnir and the Golden Guardian. The other bosses were just heroes that were souped up, like, stat-wise.
And it improved. We got a lot of feedback on cameras, and actually
Okay, yeah. So I would imagine that the top camera was the most used because it was the most stable.
our team are working hard on what we want to do. There's going to be some tweaks for our tests are in a good spot. Yeah, so the last one really from this survey that I wanted to touch on, is cameras. Now, we got a lot of feedback on cameras, and actually our team are working hard on what we want to do. There's going to be some tweaks for Alpha 2, but it's not going to be substantial change. But we have taken on board some of the different feedback areas. As I say, I'll go through this in a change log. In terms of people using the different cameras, a lot of people used top as their primary or 3/4 as their primary. But then there was a decent amount of people that switched between them as well. So I think there's elements which are right and there's elements which are not. But
The default camera was like the Star Rail camera, where it's a little floaty. It kind of moves with the characters as they're doing their abilities and stuff. I think the idea was there, it just wasn't executed.
As I say, this
right.
is probably this and UI really, two of the areas where we really want to focus time on as we go towards beta, because they're bigger things to fix. We will fix some of them before Alpha 3, but these are more like beta level fixes. So yeah, a few things that we're working on then. Some of the UI stuff as we can. We're trying to make sure that imprints work
actually
the next
work,
way.
yeah.
So any imprint that's on here, we're expecting it to work, or definitely we're trying hard to make sure that happens, because a lot of them are not working. We're doing a few tweaks to heroes. We're doing some big changes to Fafnir, so that Fafnir becomes a challenge.
So he's
and
hard.
some of the sort of slowdown bugs, which were frustrating for people, like the memory leak stuff.
Yeah,
we need to
I was
fix.
about to say the
and there's a
memory
whole bunch
leak.
of other like smaller things which will just add up to a lot more for you as well. So lots to do for Alpha 2. It's only 8 days away or something, 7 or 8 days away. So not a huge amount of time to get these things done, which means that we do as
Okay, so while we have gear up, this is where I'm going to talk about gear for a little bit. I should be able to talk about it for a little while. I touched on this before in a previous video about my concerns for gearing. And I brought up these concerns in our Discord. So we've got the Fateless Discord, and then we've got inside that the content creator channels. And I was talking about the other content creators because a couple people had put out some videos expressing their disinterest with the current gear system and how they would implement a totally different gear system. And I was just, I put out my opinion there. My opinion is that there are too many gear slots that have too many main stats. So typical in a game like this, you get a piece of gear and it's got a main stat and then it's got substats. Who knows how many substats you'll get, depends on rarity, depends on quality, whatever. But generally in this type of genre, some of the gear spots have a mono stat as your main stat. Like all helmets will have HP as the main stat. All weapons will have attack. All shields will have defense. And then there will be gear that have variable main stats. So your boots would have speed, or your boots would have attack, or your boots would have HP, So you can get variance in builds. But I talked about before how, let's take Raid Shadow Legends, for example. In that game, there are 3 gear slots that have 1 main stat and 3 gear slots that have variable main stats. Doesn't matter how much they have, just more than 1. That, combined with substats, is already a ridiculous amount of variance. And I think this is what people were getting tripped up on when I was discussing this in the Discord. The variance, because people were saying like, oh, hey, somebody's going to get their piece of gear right away and then they're never going to replace it. And that might be true in a broad sense for people who are like backseat, or I don't know how to say it. Like a person who's like not playing cutting edge, But as somebody who plays Raid pretty passively, I'm always looking to upgrade my gear because my damage numbers could always be higher, And I always want like the better main stat or the better substat. And that's only with 3 pieces of your 6 having multiple different main stats. If all 6 of your gear slots have, in some cases, 5+ variables that could be the main stat, the amount of variance goes from a very, very, very large number to a super infinite number. Like the amount of variance, including, and that's like not including gear sets, because you also have to factor in gear sets. It becomes like kind of unmanageable. I feel like I'm not going to care as much about main stats or farming for main stats unless there's a way to target main stats. So this is where we're going to switch gears and we're going to open up Zenless Zone Zero. So this is a Honkai adjacent game. It's made by the same people who made Genshin and Honkai. They're called Hoyo. This is like an anime game. I don't expect anybody watching this to really care. What I really want to get at is that there's 6 gear slots, and you can see here on this little mini middle screen the potential main stats that these slots have. Each one has 1 potential. Then you come over to the right, and these 3 have variable main stats. That's kind of norm for this style of game. And I get that Fateless is trying to do. Godforge is in this space, but they're innovating and whatnot. And people were getting like kind of defensive. Like because there's an extra stat in gear. In Godforge, there's this initiative stat. So there's all the normal stats plus initiative. And I came here and I was like, there really is like, what is this, 13 or 14 different possible main stats for Disc 5. Like, it's only that one that's that crazy. But, like, there's all these different element types plus a bunch of other bonuses and stuff. Like, there's a lot of variance here. And, you know, sometimes when I'm farming gear, like out in the dungeons or whatever, I feel like, oh, it's impossible. I can't get the main stat that I want. And then I remember this. So this is the Bardic Needle. This is essentially your way of forging gear. So you get these like little currencies that you can roll for gear. You can pick the different gear sets that you want, and you can just roll for them. You can, however, pick which main stat you want to prioritize. So if I rolled this, it costs a little bit extra. You can kind of see it behind my head. Where are we going? This way. Right behind my head. There's a little bit extra of a cost for this because you're targeting something. And it's not even like in Raid where you're like, oh, you might get a percentage boost to getting speed on your boots. This is guaranteed. This is something that I would like to see in Godforge. If we're going to submit and say all 6 gear slots are going to have variable main stats, which is something that was stated by Simon. He said, we're comfortable where things are. Who knows if that might change in the future? You know, I don't know. But he said they're comfortable, and this is what they're going with for now, at least. And I voiced my opinion. I was like, hey, that's like kind of concerning. And that's kind of what triggered that conversation between everybody. And if there's no way to target specific main stats, and it could even be like currently in the alpha, because there's 150 floors, sometimes you have a floor that only drops boots or drops a chest piece or whatever. But it's then a chest piece with a variable main stat and variable sets. Like it might be a floor that has a potential to drop one of 6 different armor sets. And that chest is going to be a varied quality. It's going to be a varied rarity. It's going to be a varied main stat. And it's going to have varied substats. Like, I don't know if I'm portraying this well enough. That to me is insane on its own. I'm just saying that out loud. One piece has all that variance. And it's like, I can see the energy leaving my hand. Like Thanos snapped and all of my in-game energy is gone. And, you know, even if there is a stage where you can farm specifically boots, or you can have like a higher percentage chance to get specific pieces of gear, unless there's something like this where you can pick a main stat, I don't think there's going to be a good way around all of the variants. And like I said, people were saying like, oh, wouldn't that lead to if there were fewer main stats, wouldn't that lead to people having builds completed sooner? And it would disincentivize people from farming. Like, okay, yeah, maybe to an extent, but there's always going to be people who are looking for better substats, or their substats didn't roll the way they wanted to, so they're going to trash that one and go get another one and farm up for something. But we don't need, like, there are going to be other places in the game for us to spend our energy. Like, we don't need to hyper focus on the literal infinite variance that is gearing in Godforge. Like, and if you get a really good piece, like, it's going to feel really good because you either spent a lot of time farming for it, or you know the time sink that could go into farming for gear. So you're like, oh, hey, I don't have to do that now. This has now become my number one wish. If the gearing system stays the way it is currently in the Alpha 1, which is likely to, all the way through beta, there needs to be, when the game launches, some way for us to target main stats. Or at the very, very, very least, target specific slots like boots, like gloves, like whatever. Because it's just an energy sink. And I mean, they've been pretty generous about letting us have energy because of needs of testing in the alpha wave, but it's not going to be like that forever. Like, energy in most of these gacha games runs out quick. And unless it's like a Hoyo game where there's like a story mode that's totally different from energy that you don't need energy to do, you're going to need energy for literally everything else, or a secondary currency like arena battles or whatever. So I don't know. This is where I'm going to end it. Let me know your thoughts. I find this topic particularly interesting because it's really where we're going to spend a lot of our time and energy in the game, farming up character, gear, and customization. So I don't know. Or maybe it won't matter because we'll have normalized modes and I won't care about gearing because I'll only play the normalized modes. I don't know. Anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!